I know no one wants to talk about it, but we kind of have to talk about the inevitable. What if Arkansas loses to BYU this weekend? Let's talk about it on today's Locked On Razorbacks pod.
You are Locked On Razorbacks, your daily podcast on the Arkansas Razorbacks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Razorbacks podcast. I am your host, John Nabors. I am also the host of Out of Bounds. You can catch every weekday afternoon from 1 to 4 on 1037 The Buzz and 1037thebuzz.com. Hope everybody's having a wonderful Wednesday. It's the midway point of the week. And got me my sweet Locked On Razorback shirt over here. Yeah, you see that? You like it? No, a lot of people get asked me about it if I have any available. And my only response to that is stay tuned. Perhaps. Maybe. But either way, this was a podcast that for those of you who may be new to the podcast for this football season, I have done this many times when it comes to the upcoming matchup for the Arkansas Razorbacks. And how I have done it is I've always looked at it in the perspective of, okay, if Arkansas is favored in it, let's talk about what if Arkansas loses. But if they're the underdog in the game, let's talk about what if Arkansas wins. Because I would bet dollars to donuts that most of you out there believe that Arkansas is going to win this game. And I'm talking to you Razorback fans, not you BYU fans. You probably think you're going to win. But most Razorback fans, I would bet, have Arkansas winning this game. And so this is kind of the midweek of, all right, let's bring it back down a little bit, okay? Because it is a realistic possibility that Arkansas does lose this game this week. I don't think that they will, and I don't think that most people will predict them to. I know I'm not going to predict them to lose, but it's still a possibility. So what if that happens? I like to play the what if scenario. What if, they call it a what if Wednesday, if you will. But what if Arkansas loses this weekend at home to BYU? Well, first let's talk about the immediate impact and the immediate reaction that will transpire from all that. Razorback fans will be irate. You will be. I don't think I'll consider myself to be irate, but I will be mad. I will be upset. I'll be thinking that it's not good, especially kind of what we've seen this past weekend, to follow that up with a less than stellar performance at home at night against an opponent that is a good opponent, but an opponent that you are better than. That would be extremely disappointing to see it go down to where all that hype, all that adrenaline, all that buildup, and you get whooped at home by a now Big 12 team in BYU. Fans would be extremely upset, and rightfully so. People would start to question Sam Pittman, start to question of whether or not he can actually get the job done here at Arkansas. Start to question about some of the hires that were made. Because let's be honest, in this particular game, if Arkansas was going to lose, I believe it would be because of the offense not being able to run the ball effectively, not being able to pass protect, being very one-dimensional, not being able to get any sort of flow, having 3 and outs, having to punt the ball away. To me, that would be the reason why Arkansas would lose this game and how it would look. I don't think that Arkansas would lose this game in a shootout because I think Arkansas's defense is much more improved, and I think their defense is much better than BYU's. And so the only way I see Arkansas losing this game is if they have the same problems that they had this past weekend, or even just all season long, not being able to run the ball. And when that happens with the talented running backs that you have and the offensive line that you've been trying to figure out, that's going to put a lot of people in a position to where they start losing hope and belief in Sam Pittman. Because if there was one thing that was going to be the guarantee of this team this year, or at least the strength of this team that we all agreed upon or would have agreed upon, it was going to be that Arkansas will have really good running game. They've had a really good running game every year that Sam Pittman's been here, and to see it struggling a little bit is almost weird. So it would begin to make people think, okay, maybe the Dan Enos hire wasn't great. Maybe the running back room wasn't as talented. Maybe the offensive line group was sold. Everyone was sold a bill of goods about them, thinking that it was going to be incredible and they were just going to be, pushing people around because, hey, it's Sam Pitt. People would lose hope and believe pretty quickly. And then on top of that, not only would you have the game against BYU go the opposite direction, but then you would have a 4-game stretch, as we all know, where no one, including myself, would feel good about any one of those games. Like, that stretch was already going to be hard as it is, going to LSU, A&M in Arlington, at Ole Miss, at Alabama. Like, we all knew that that was going to be a tough stretch. And I even felt before the season, if Arkansas went 2-2 in those games, they're going 9-3. Like, that's how I felt about it, because it's that tough of a situation. But if you lose to BYU this weekend, that looks like 0-4 to me. Because how in the world are you going to be able to follow up a loss to BYU at home with a win on the road at night in Death Valley? How are you going to follow up a loss to LSU in Death Valley at 6 o'clock going up against the Texas A&M team, which you struggle to beat in Arlington as it is, with Bobby Petrino really wanting to send a message to the school that fired? How are you going to follow that up with going on the road to Ole Miss, a game that you have had success in, and it always been really high scoring, but knowing that they want to redeem themselves for the performance that they had this past year against you, where you absolutely obliterated them and you were up 42-6 at some point. And then how are you going to follow that up with bam? I don't care. There's no other detail. Just bam. You're not. And then you add into the mix of a Mississippi State team coming to your house, which looks to be an improved team. Auburn, improved team. Florida on the road. Still, if you lose to BYU at home, are you going to feel good about that game? I mean, what games will you feel good about? If you can't win at home with as healthy of a roster, I know minus Rocket Sanders, but healthy quarterback situation, a wide receiver group that looks improved, the defense that overall looks improved, 6 o'clock, it's going to be a packed house. The energy is going to be next level. And if you can't win that game, what game can you win? So it's going to turn everything up on its head. Now, you can disagree, and that's fine. You can disagree and say, even if they lose this weekend, it's not the end of the world, not the end of the season. It's not all this stuff that's going wrong and being terrible. I'm just telling you how fans are going to react. That's how fans are going to react. I'm going to be bummed, but I'm looking at y'all. And you can sit there and be like, I'd never act such a certain way after one game. You must be out of your... Look at my mentions on game day like last week when Kent State. People were like, Pittman can't do it. He ain't cut out for it. I'm like, my goodness. Relax. But in this particular case, it'd be a little bit justified. Because, again, if you can't win against BYU at night, at home, with your healthy quarterback and everything, how can you feel good about the rest of this? So it will be a bad situation for everybody involved. And it'll be a bad situation for Pittman, and you'll really be behind the 8 ball. I know we always talk about what game is the most important game to win, and it's always the next game. But the more I thought about it, this game is extremely important. Because if you don't win this game, I'm not kidding. Starting the season 2-5 is a realistic thing. 2-5. It's very realistic. Win your home games. Your toughest games are on the road. Your toughest games are away from Arkansas. 2 LSU, 2 Alabama, 2 Ole Miss, 2 Florida, then A&M and Arlington. Those are your toughest games. So what does that mean? You got to win your home games. I would think, and I would have Arkansas favored in every home game that they play this year, just like they do against BYU. So you can't afford to lose one of those games because there's not a lot of opportunities to make up for it with the tough schedule that you have. Now, I say all that. Let me be clear about it once again, for those of you who are getting all upset. I believe Arkansas will win this game. And I believe Arkansas is going to figure out some stuff, and I feel like they're going to go out there and they're going to showcase their strengths and really put it to BYU, similar to what they did last year, where not only is the offense rolling more so than what it did the past few weeks, but also the defense is really causing some problems, and I think the atmosphere is going to get BYU. I believe Arkansas is going to win. But as Razorback fans, you know better than anybody that we always have to look at both realities, both possibilities. It is possible that Arkansas loses this game. And if they do, that will be the reaction. You know what? I don't believe they will. You don't believe they will. So let's just hope that they don't. That way we won't have to know about all the terrible, miserable messages and tweets and things that I'll have to see and deal with because I'm selfish on Saturday and Sunday and do a podcast on Monday where I'm literally want to jump off the roof. Let's not do that. Please. Thank you. All right. Great. Brand. Wonderful. Folks, let me tell you that this episode is brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. What brings home the winning trophy is also what keeps you ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. From superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED lights, and more, whether you're into speed, power, style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need and all the prices that you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebay.com/motors. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers. Eligible items apply, and exclusions also apply.
You are Locked On Razorbacks, your daily podcast on the Arkansas Razorbacks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, so moving on into the next segment of the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. I wanted to talk a little bit about the SEC here, but I got asked this question, and I thought it was pretty fascinating because I'll be honest, I've been a little harsh on the SEC so far this year because the SEC has not looked good. I'm not saying it's trash, but it's not very good. And I had some people saying it's like, well, you just got to get used to the fact that that the SEC is not the only conference that matters. To me, it is. I don't give a rip about what other conferences are doing because my team is in this conference, and this conference is the best conference across the board, every sport, guaranteed more often than not. And I don't really care about all the other conferences. This is the conference I care about, and I want it to be the best. I want it to be the best because I want to be a part of it. So the question becomes is like, okay, is the SEC bad this year? Because right now you're looking at it where Florida, South Carolina, Alabama, LSU, and A&M, all 5 teams have a loss this year. And the rest of the teams are 2-0. And Vanderbilt has a loss. Excuse me. They're 2-1. I forgot that week 0. All right. So how is this the case? Like what is it looking like? Well, here's the deal. Georgia's 2-0 against nobodies. Kentucky is really 2-0 against nobody. Missouri's 2-0 against nobody. And Tennessee's really 2-0 against nobody. So in the East, those 2-0s, whatever. Like they haven't really played anybody of note. But in the West, you have Arkansas's 2-0. They haven't beaten anybody. Auburn's 2-0. They went on the road to Cal and won barely, but I'm not going to call that it. Mississippi State beat Arizona in overtime. I don't think they're that good. I guess that might be okay. And then Ole Miss, like they had a good win against Tulane on Saturday. So right now, like the best win for the SEC right now, I think, is Ole Miss beating Tulane. I know it's only 2 weeks, and not everybody's played a high-quality opponent. But you're telling me that's the best win that you have so far? Florida lost to Utah. South Carolina lost to North Carolina. Bama lost to Texas. LSU lost to Florida State. And Texas A&M lost to Miami. Now, here's the thing about those losses, though, folks. Here's the thing. Every one of those losses that those SEC teams had were by double-digit points. Think about that. Every loss, and I'm throwing Vanderbilt in there, too, because they lost to Wake Forest. Every loss that an SEC team has endured this season has been by double digits. Now, you could say they're against better opponents. Sure, for sure. I think Florida State's better than LSU. I think Texas is better than Alabama. I think Miami's better than A&M. Utah's better than Florida, and North Carolina's better than South Carolina. Like they proved it on the field. But seeing some of the follow-up performances by those teams like Utah, they struggled a little bit. Or by North Carolina against App State, they struggled a little. And again, we'll see what happens with the other teams too. But the point is, I don't know if the SEC is bad, but I do believe that the SEC has a bunch of good teams. Like Georgia's still going to be my champion until I'm proven up. But there's not another championship team in this conference. If the SEC is going to win the national championship, it's going to be Georgia. Because none of these other teams are going to be able. And then you don't really have just an absolute god-awful team. Except for maybe Florida. They're like the ones that's going to be flirting with it the most, but I still don't think they're trash. So you're looking at it really where Arkansas and how they stack up in it. I was thinking about this in the West. I still think Bama will win the West. Like I still think they're going to be the best. But you're looking at it to where Arkansas could finish second. But they could also finish seventh. They could finish anywhere in the SEC West. Like, we knew it was going to be a little bit wide open, but this is really wide. And it's a small sample size of just 2 weeks. But I don't think that the SEC is terrible. The SEC just isn't really looking that great. That's what it is. Folks, this episode is brought to you by Markel. From Fayetteville to El Dorado and everywhere in between, Markel has been helping Arkansas small business community for over 30 years. Markel is a global specialty insurer with truly a people-first approach, and to them, insurance is more than just a piece of paper. It's a promise to help people get back on their feet. We spend a third of our lives working, so on-the-job injuries can be expected. You work hard to build your business, so it's important to make sure that you and your employees have the right insurance coverage. Whether you're new to the business or celebrating your 25th year anniversary, whether you have 1 employee or 1,000 employees, Markel aims to understand your workers' compensation insurance needs. So find a local independent agent to get a free workers' compensation insurance quote today at markelinsurance.com/lockedon. That's MARKEL insurance.com/lockedon. Markel, insuring America's small businesses since 1930. Insurance carrier coverage, dividends, and services availability may vary by state. Markel is a registered trademark of Markel Group, Incorporated. I'm also very pleased to add into another big-time company here on the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. It is Jase Medical. Now, Jase Medical provides 5 life-saving antibiotics for emergency use. And all it takes to get a Jase case, as they like to put it, is to fill out a simple form online and, in some cases, jump on a quick call with one of their board-certified physicians. Get ongoing care for the physicians on any treatment and related questions, doctor-created and doctor-recommended as well. You know, we all have pains. We all go through our, especially older in age, we all have things where maybe we're at the gym and we hurt ourselves, or maybe we're out playing sports when we think we're a lot better than what we are, and we end up hurting ourselves that way too. It can go a lot of different ways, but I'll tell you, that's what's great about having something like Jase Medical to be able to help you out there, especially when it comes to them sending you just all the things that you would need when you're dealing with all these pains, especially with storms and shortages and pandemics and reliance on China and supply chain issues, everything. You need to be prepared. So Jase Medical is very simple. You just go online and fill out the form, and then you get your prescription of life-saving medications right to your door. Save more than $360 by these life-saving antibiotics with Jase Medical, plus an additional $20 off by using my promo code LOCKEDON at checkout at jasemedical.com. That's JASE medical.com. Again, save $360. Let's go to jasemedical.com using promo code LOCKEDON.
You are Locked On Razorbacks, your daily podcast on the Arkansas Razorbacks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, final segment of the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. I'm going to keep this pretty short and sweet because I have to get going. I have an interview here in just a little bit. But I just wanted to say that for those of you who did not know, and for all you follow me on social media, you probably do, I am a New York Jets fan. I'm a New York Jets fan. And what transpired on Monday Night Football was the most Jets thing ever. Aaron Rodgers getting hurt, out for the season, ruptured Achilles, torn Achilles, everyone put it. Played 4 snaps in the game, and that was all she. And I had a lot of people reaching out to me and giving me a lot of hard time for it and everything, and it's fine. It's whatever. I was numb to it because I'm like, yeah, it's about right. It's on brand. It's on brand for the Jets. But, you know, it's just something funny where I'm like, you know, I want my football teams to just be good once. You know, like just have one time. Arkansas has had a lot of success in my lifetime. At least I believe. Like, there's been a lot of fun seasons. Darren McFadden years, the Bobby Petrino years. Been a lot of good times. And even the Jets have had some years here and there. Like, they went to the AFC title game back-to-back years in 2009 and 2010. I just want it to be where they want to breaks through. Because the Jets haven't been to the playoffs since 2010 when they won the AFC title game. And the Razorbacks haven't been really highly relevant since 2011. You're talking about like over a decade where my football teams have yet to be to that level of fun. And the Jets are not going to do it because it's not Zach Wilson ain't. He ain't it. Never will be. That's whatever. Sucks. So I need you as Razorbacks to be better. I need you to give me something. Give me something. The Jets aren't going to be good this year. Give me something, Razorbacks. Win this game. Have a great season. Have some fun with it. Give me hope and give me an enjoyable fall. Please. That's on. Thank you. Please. Football God. I could really use it right. I just want to talk trash to I never get to do that anymore. Football. Basketball, all day. Football, no. But here's to the fall. Appreciate everybody listening in to Locked On Razorback podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe to the podcast on iTunes or on Google Play. You can also get after me on Twitter, BuzzJohnNabors, for any questions, comments, concerns that you may have. Keep it going from there. Same podcast time, same podcast channel tomorrow afternoon. Have a great day, everybody. We'll see you then.